welcome today to this new chapter or this new video on Stop Worrying today. So welcome, and we're going to be sharing some experiences and ideas that might be useful. So because this subject just came up and Palak and Carol were talking about it, and I thought I have this amazing vital crisis when I used to worry so much. So I just wanted to jump in and tell you all. So it was one of the most scariest moments of my life, the one of my biggest fears. And I've always wanted to be free, and freedom was an issue for me and a big thing. So I wanted to be free geographically, financially, and everything, you know? So after I managed to do all that, then I realized that because I could go anywhere, live anywhere, do anything, and work doing whatever, suddenly I started to freak out. Because before I used to worry so much about what I would have to do to achieve things. But then suddenly I started realizing that the thing was, I had always been worrying about the future, but I had never imagined myself in that situation. So I remember one day after assuming that I was in a new situation, that I didn't know that I was free, but I didn't know how to choose, and realizing that I was alive and everything was fine because I could breathe, and I was in the Caribbean Sea, in a very nice place, in a very good place. One day, I remember I had gone to an amazing island called Holbox in the north of the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. And I was there. I was with a friend, and we had been to the island of Passion, a very tiny island, by the way. Like Passion itself, you go there and then you're fast coming back. So and there was the sunset, and we were in an amazing place. We were having amazing fish, and with this sunset, suddenly people somewhere put music on, and I was just in that moment, in that aha moment, realizing that I had been worrying all my life to be okay, to build my dreams, to build my business, to do things. But not even in my wildest dreams I could imagine to be in that frame, you know, in the Caribbean Sea, seeing the sunset with a handsome guy by my side, music and good food, and everything was fine. And I was so shocked by that. Like all the worry that I had been experiencing in my life had nothing to do with me being there. Actually, the decisions that I had made to be there were right in the moment and completely out of the blue, unexpected. And it was like, I'm fed up of this. I'm going to where? Well, there's an island in the north, and I could go there. And then I found this friend there whom I had met before. And so it was completely unexpected. So I realized that we don't control a thing. We're like a little bag on a dog, thinking that we're controlling the dog and where it's going. And suddenly the dog starts to do that and the bag is gone.
True.
So, so suddenly it was like a joke. And I realized how much time I have spent in my life worrying about things. And the only thing that worry does is to build up that momentum that you think you're doing something because you're scared, but you're actually doing nothing useful. It's not useful, it's not taking you anywhere. So you're just afraid and trying to control the uncontrollable. And worrying is not going to help you to take the right decision. It's just blinding you to the present and only seeing your fears and your scare being your inner child that doesn't know how to deal with things. And you're not seeing the way out or the path for you. You're just scared and anxious and not really present. And it's completely useless.
Absolutely. Very
So
I
true.
have a great I have a great quote to share about what you're talking about. And you might know how to pronounce this, Maria. Michel de Montaigne said, "My life has been filled with terrible misfortune, most of which never happened."
never happened. That's it.
You know, it's like you spend so much time in your life worrying, and there are a lot of studies and statistics about worrying. And some say 85%, some say 90%, but 90% of what we worry about never comes even close to becoming true. And out
Yeah.
of the 10% that comes true, only pieces of it might come true, or it's not nearly as bad as you thought it was going to be. So the actual percentage of stuff that really is catastrophic is very, very small. Yet we spend such a high percentage of our lifetimes worrying about different things that is so unproductive. It's just it's a waste of energy. And Pollock, you always like to talk about frequencies. I don't know what the worry frequency is, but it's got to be like rock bottom, right? And people spend so much time there. My mom was, and I think this is, I don't know, maybe it's because our parents were part of the depression, or at least mine was, that they worry so much about everything. It was like my mom wasn't happy unless she was worrying about something. And just watching that my whole life really was kind of a awakening for me, that is such a useless waste of time. you know
Absolutely.
so and we have that problem. I don't know if I should tell the story, but I'll just make it real quick. My partner had a detached retina recently, and he had to have emergency surgery, and he did, and the recovery for that surgery is a horrible recovery. And then about 3 weeks after it, he thought the retina detached again. Um, and the thought that we would have to go through the surgery again, he hadn't even begun to get his eyesight back the first time. And it took about 2.5 days till we got to the doctor. And for those 2.5 days, we worried so much about logistically how we were going to have surgery again, the insurance aspect of it, what to do with the boat, yada, yada, yada. It was a whole conglomeration of horribleness in our lives. It was one of the most stressful few days of my life. And originally I said to him, well, let's not worry about that, but of course, we ended up worrying about it all. And then we get to the doctor, and he's like, he looks in the back of his eye for like 5 minutes. He's like, don't worry about it. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. And I look back on that. It's like, oh my gosh, we wasted so much emotional, traumatic energy in thinking that we were going to have to go through that again. So that's just one example of don't worry, it's just so unproductive. And that's why I love, one of my favorite songs is the reggae, Don't Worry, Be
Be
Happy.
happy. True.
I know.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's so basic
Yeah.
and fundamental, but still, we all get tied up into worrying. So anyway,
I
I
guess
think it is
worrying is a
also, yeah, no, I
Go
was
ahead,
going
Maria.
to say, I was going to say that I think it's just because we're not used to having a trusting relationship with our abilities, ourselves, and with life. So there's a menace, there's a threat somewhere. So we are used to having that sensation like we're in danger because we haven't had our needs met when we were a child, or because we don't know how life works and we don't even investigate or learn about it, the quantum aspect of reality, how we manifest things, how do we change what we observe, how we interact with the field to have a life. And so we're all the time lowering our frequencies so that we get out of that sync with life because we have our traumas and unresolved businesses instead of working in our inner pains and actually solving that so that we can trust. And yeah, things can happen, shit happens, but you can solve it. And it happens because you want to learn something from it, because life is bringing you that for a reason. It's not just like a matter of, like bad luck. That doesn't exist. It's like life is all the time with a purpose, and it's all the time loving you, and it's all the time bringing you what the next lesson for you according to your personal beliefs. So I think that trust in life, you can only build it when you experience things, when you jump into the unknown and you start realizing that you have inner work to do and healing and being aware of things. And then suddenly one day you wake up, and like I was talking to my friend the other day, it's like my day, it's all the time I breathe and I'm present. What do I have to do right now? Like, what do I have to do right now? And before I would be stressed up with all the work that I have to do and not reaching, not being able to finish it. And it's like, nobody's going to die, you know? And if I die, that's not going to be made. You know, if I stress myself so much that I freak out, no one is going to do that. So relax and just do the next step. Just do it. The next step can be resting or doing something, but
Yes.
what's the next step for you? And that is like every second, every minute, that practice is amazing because it's like, what do you really need to do? So occupy instead of preoccupy yourself. So that's the training for me, at least, because I live in such an uncertainty, because I travel. I don't know where I'm going to be sleeping. Every morning I wake up and I don't know at what side of the bed is the light to turn on the light. I don't know which side of the bed to get out of the bed. So I'm checking that. So it's like, learn to live in an uncertainty safely and trusting, so your nervous system is calmed. So that's amazing.
Yeah, worrying is a very natural thing which happens for us human beings because the brain, it's all focusing on fight, flight, or freeze, right? That's what they say. So it's a natural tendency for the brain to worry. And the challenge is like whenever situation comes or challenges come, at least what I find myself doing is I give myself space and time to worry, in the sense I analyze the situation and I will, I think about, or I write down, or I talk to somebody about, okay, the situation's presented. So I will look at the pros, the cons, what do I need to do, focus on solutions, and then act on it. That's something very vital that you said, Maria. Just act on it step by step, because action is key. When you're just worrying, the only way is what I do is divert my attention into action. I work on it, whatever needs to be done for the day, for the moment, like you said, for that moment, and then stop, divert my attention now to do something else. Now, there are a lot of other things which psychologists say that you can do. Is, for example, you can do exercises, go out for a walk in the nature, jump, dance, sing, to let that worrying energy out.
I'm saying raise your vibration, right?
Raise your vibe. That's exactly, that's so true, because you have to let that out, release, like our earlier podcast said, to release it. And once it releases, is slowly when you're raising your vibrations up. Because if you're worrying, we must remember where our focus goes, energy flows. So I do not want to send my energy into situations or the outcomes that I don't want. I've always found myself going to the question that Access Consciousness has taught us: what else is possible? Because so many times when I've found myself stuck in a situation, I just leave it. Of course, after doing all the analysis, I leave it and I say, so what else is possible? What else is possible that I cannot think of right now? And I just leave it and I go and do something else, or, to divert my attention,
Yeah.
just cut off from that problem. And
Can I pipe in here
many
one thing?
times it just pans out on its own. It just resolves on its own. Sorry, Carol, you were saying something?
Well, I was going to say, I love what else is possible. And the other one is, when you're worried about something, ask yourself the question, well, what if it all works out?
Yes.
You know,
That's what Mel Robbins says
what's the
too.
other side? If you have a problem, what's the other side of the problem? It might take this to solve it, but it might be really easy and this will solve it. So, what if it all works out? And I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
And also, we don't have all the information about how things can be solved.
Yeah.
So it's like we're only seeing a very narrow spectrum of possibilities. So I remember once I felt I wanted a house somewhere, like to buy a house, and I felt like it had happened, that it was already there, and that the universe was going to provide. So I was like, "Ooh, that's amazing!" And suddenly, after that, the thought of, okay, I'm going to go to the real estate business and see how I can really buy that house. So I had already narrowed all the chances of having a house that to the only possibility of me buying it. I don't know why, because you can, you can inherit it. Somebody can give you a lot of money because you have done, or you can earn so much money for your business or whatever. But in my mind was, I am going to buy a house, so I want to go and see how I buy it. And so they gave me 3 chances because I was a foreigner in that country, and I couldn't meet the qualification for any of the 3. So the conclusion was, oh my God, I cannot buy the house. And so my energy started to drop because I was like, oh, I can't make it. This is not going to happen, and so on. And the second I realized that my energy was lowering, because you notice everything is bright and shiny, and suddenly it's like gloomy and it's starting to narrow, and your body's going like that, and it's like, ooh, like lowering the volume of life. And then it's like, wait a second, I don't want to live like this. And I did, oh, I don't know how that is going to happen. I don't have a clue how the universe is going to give me a house, but I trust the universe. So I'm allowing it to happen. And I don't know how it's going to happen. And I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to trust that I'm going to be looking for the signs that it's appearing.
There you go.
And every time I do that, it works out. So it's not that I have to know. I have no clue. It's like when I wanted to live in Glastonbury in England for the summer, I was writing and having an amazing view in the Abbey there, like such a natural, beautiful place. And I was, oh, I really love to write and spend the summer here. And suddenly I had shivers all over my spine, and I thought, oh, that's a reality. It's coming true. And then I just walked out, and I don't remember if it was that day or the next day. I didn't know how it was going to happen. I knew I didn't want to be searching for a room that was available, that they were wanting to make a contract. And because of those like legal aspects of it, I didn't want to do that. So I was like, I don't know how it's going to happen. Well, that evening or the following day, I don't remember, I met a friend, and she was saying, I am inviting the people that are living in my house to move out, because I don't want them to be any like the lodgers. I don't want them anymore in there. And I would really love to find someone like you. And I said, someone like me,
Like
or
me?
or me myself? And so she said, oh, that would be great. And I thought, that's amazing. So that was May. And it took until the 21st, 28th of July. So in those months, I didn't know what was going on. She was having trouble with the lodgers, and everything was going on. And I was just like, I trust. If it's not her, somebody else is going to appear, but I'm going to do it. So I trusted. And it took a few months, but on the 28th of July last year, I hired that room and I started living there. So it's like, why would I worry if the universe is conspiring to meet my dreams? So why would I worry really? That's because you don't have the experience of actually raising your frequency, being in the vortex, as we were talking on another podcast, and trusting life and building up your energy and being open, dreaming, aiming big, aiming for, like, that's amazing. So when you start living like that, life is magical.
Yes.
And the worrying is like cutting out all of those magical aspects of life, and cheerful and playful, and it's useless.
True.
Just to make you gloomy.
True. It's so true. What do you do for our readers to stop worrying? How would you advise them to say, okay, these are my tips, just do this, it's helped because it's worked for me in life? So we can all
I do, like when I'm really worried about something, I just do some breathing, some really deep breathing, or I, plug into my phone and listen to a meditation or something, just anything to, like you said, change what you're thinking about, what you're doing. That's probably the biggest thing. And then just to ask those questions, well, what if it all works out, and I really try not to worry, sometimes I have to, because I live on a boat and we do have some issues, like when the water pump doesn't work and we can't get fresh water. There are some things that you have to worry about. But in the end, just having that trust, like you said, Maria, and faith that it's all going to work out. It's all going to work out, and everything happens for a reason. So, and don't spend your life, like the quote said, I've had a horrible, traumatic life, but none of it really happened, So
Didn't
don't do
happen.
that.
Yeah. Of course, I would reframe it because I think you have said that there are things you have to worry about. For example, the water pump. I think there are things we have to occupy ourselves and that we have to focus on and that we have to solve and act on them. But worrying, it's an extra energy that is not needed. It's like, I need to
Right.
do this, I need to solve this, but I don't need to worry about it. I just need to act on the best of my possibilities as best as I can, and I
True.
can't do anything else. Like, you
True.
really can't do more than what you can do.
True.
Right. So we hope that you enjoyed our conversation about not worrying and living your life to the fullest. And if our energy resonates with you, we hope that you will like, share, and subscribe. Did I do okay, Palak?